Welcome back.
Thank you. Your coffee. You literally like that foot
I'm aware of
being
it.
cocked.
I'm aware of it.
Ha! Okay.
Anyway, I got my 300 milligrams of.
I tried to put it away back in the fridge and hoped that you would notice because I thought you should sleep tonight.
So, it is not October.
November.
It is November. So it has officially been a while since we've done a podcast.
Yeah.
And we got to remember not to look down. We got to look at the camera when we talk to the podcast. It's up there. Hello. So, yeah. So we have a lot to talk about. I think the last time we podcast, we were like a week out, and then we just like we're still busy,
yeah,
planning, getting ready to go. Then we did it, and It's over. We're done. Tour's done. No. So okay. So I think for the sake of maybe just like catching up to speed, do you want to just do Breck style, tell the story, maybe from like a couple days before to, and then just we'll go through each, and then we'll just have stories to tell. So let's just tell what happened. And
Breck style. That was such an invitation. I will not do that. Like, I can't do that for this.
You need some coffee.
No, you need some coffee for you to listen to this.
Yes.
No. Okay, so right up until go time was just so incredibly stressful. And I think when I rewatch our vlog,
yeah.
like you can just see that. Like it's just gushing out of me. Like I'm just like quiet, irritable, focused, like all those things. Yeah. And I was so overwhelmed with how much needed to be done, like within our house. And so like getting everything just squared away, like emotionally, friend group, community wise, house,
planning, that's all just wrapped up stuff.
And you're supposed to like
planning,
you're supposed to like plan and like keep the ball moving with the tour. And it was just like, so like responding to emails for like something that I hadn't finalized in Victoria, which was like the coming week. And then I'm like, okay, now put the computer back and like get back outside and keep packing, like this, the whole thing was just a lot. So that first night of sleeping, we slept in a Walmart parking lot, and like I think I finally like took a deep breath and I slept surprisingly
well. It's because the first night is like the whole tour is in front of us. It's anxious, but like there's a reality of like we just finally just like shut the door on all the stuff we were trying to wrap up.
Yes.
And now it's only what's in front of us. There's nothing behind us now.
Yeah. So like having everything that we needed right there in the RV and the cargo trailer, and like everything else is in storage. The house is empty. Everything's taken care of. And it was just like, yeah. And then. Like, so I slept really well, but then I woke up and it was like, okay, now it's time. We have to be there at 9 o'clock.
Well, and we're planning stuff because so you went, I went, so we got to Walmart. I got you guys situated. This is our first night. We're in Victoria, Canada, and then I go to Tim Hortons Coffee because they're open 24/7, and I'm like working. I'm trying to like wrap up some because I still have like computer work to do, and planning stuff and editing and all this stuff. So like I'm working a bunch still, and so for me it was the same feeling. There definitely was this like, but then it was like, oh, now all this stuff that's been like
and there was so much like emotional stuff that was erupting in me at that time. I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't really have time to like grieve or like I was kind of just like that last 2 weeks was just such a whirlwind that there was like zero time to like be excited, to grieve, to like feel any feelings.
I didn't even give that emotion, like the sad time, until I literally today I was editing the vlog of us like on the ferry, and then I went to like do this voiceover for the vlog of like talking about like leaving, and I was just like I'm gonna make myself cry just talking about it because it was like this has been such a special season, and I like I've acknowledged that and talked about it, but I think since like these last 2 weeks of like planning and stuff, there's just been so much to like looking forward to that I haven't really taken a second to go like, oh wow, how special has this time been?
And so there's all of that, and then there's like our kids, and then navigating like this wild shift from having a ton of space in a home to this tiny space in an RV. And we've done that before, but not with our kids this age.
Yeah.
Where they all need their individual things. They're all they're much more individual.
So far, yeah.
Like,
which I'll say, because I want to say this real quick.
That was a whole nother.
Because, so our kids, yeah. So we can talk about that. On that note, real quick, I wanted to say, there's so many people, when we were traveling full time the first time, our kids were, like, Miles was 5, 6?
6. So
it's like 6, 5, 4, 2.
2.
Right?
Not even 2,
right.
Yeah.
And we had, what I always remember was like, everywhere we went, or everybody we met, were always like, oh man, I wish I could do that, with my kids, but we just can't at that age or something. I'm realizing now, that was so much easier
to do
than it was now, because they just they go with what you they're like, there's no opinions, they're asking why, they're not like,
the threshold for fun is so much easier to hit at a younger age. Like, they love to jump in puddles and play with Play-Doh and like, so it's just like entertainment throughout the day is much easier to accomplish versus like 10, 9, 8, 5. They're like,
and again, when they're younger, they can share similarities in how they are entertained. Whereas now it's like, all right, Briar can be reading, but we can still have 3 kids bored, even though one's having a blast or something, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like we have that split more often, where it's like, it happens still, but it's definitely a lot more rare to have all 4 kids like completely satisfied with kind of not having a crazy experience in front of their face.
Yes, and it's just so I'd say like now it's gotten much easier. Yes. Like,
so we're 4 weeks or 5 weeks in now.
Yes, we're 5 weeks in, and that first 2 weeks was hard.
And I think that was like the adjustment period, right? We're getting used to like, this is our new system for these things, and I think that's what you're maybe referring to more than anything, is like getting used to like, all right, we've had 3 years of having 3 bathrooms.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's a lot of bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
So now we have 1 bathroom, and it's tiny, and then like the area to brush your teeth is this big, right?
Yeah.
So if we're in travel mode and there's stuff in the kitchen sink, we're all brushing our teeth in this like big of a space while trying to pee right behind it and stuff. So it's like everything's like up in your face. So
yeah. Well, and then it's like all those tiny things that are never a big deal are just completely amplified in a small space. So like when cat litter is getting all over the place, my gosh. Cat litter shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's a huge deal when you're living in an RV.
Because it's like, so I bought the lightweight stuff, and it's like the cat's like tracking it onto our bed.
So we were like, don't buy that kind anymore. Buy different. But it's just like all those little tiny random things. Or when you feed
the cat, and it's like the smell of the nasty wet food is like in your face.
Yes. Or, the timing that everyone wakes up. Like, when they were little, it was like everyone woke up happy and, like, ready to go and excited for the day because they're little and they just love to just be alive.
Right.
And now we're hitting the adolescent age almost where they're like, dude, I want to sleep longer. I didn't sleep well. There's a whole thing.
I will say, however, it was kind of an unfair, look at being full-time again, because right off the bat we went at a really high pace, a quick pace. So we were like, it was good, but like for some of those consistencies or getting used to stuff, it didn't do us any favors.
No, right.
And so that's why I think it's been better now, as we've had a little bit longer stays in places to be able to like, okay, we have some sort of expectation for what a morning looks like. Whereas when we hit the road, we were getting used to being in the RV. In addition to, we're driving and we're doing this thing tomorrow, events, so we went. There's
just so much to talk about.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's transition and talk about like mentally preparing for our first event. So we got on the ferry. We go from Port Angeles over to Victoria, which is actually pretty short. It's just one ferry ride, and we spent the night.
90 minutes, yeah.
And so our first event is our story time in Victoria. So we spend the night, we wake up, and we go to like get set up in Victoria. So like, why don't you just like kind of talk through? I just got to watch all the footage of us like vlogging it today, so I'm curious to just like hear you talk about like that experience and kind of this like. Anyway, I don't want to say too much, so.
Okay, so waking up are you talking about like
no, just like getting there? Like, no, just
to
like
the event.
Yeah, the event. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's like rainy. I've never been here before. I don't even know if anyone's gonna come.
Right.
So we're just kind of like, okay, like I go into this giant building at the recreational center.
We kind of had a conversation with them,
and I know, like I know what the room is supposed to look like, but this huge building, like I don't even know where the room is in the building, and I'm like, are people even gonna be able to find this room? Like I don't even know. So I check in at the front desk, and she's like, okay, like you have the blah 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 room, and I walk away from the counter like, which way do I go? This way, that way, this way, that like, and It was weird though, because I'm dressed as Brecky Breck, and I'm like she was like, you should know this. Like it was this girl at the counter, and so then I was like, yeah, where? She's like, yeah, just go down the hall and to your left, and so.
It was a long way down the hall, first of all.
Yeah, I know.
From the main counter, it was like.
It's a giant.
And there's
space.
no other activities going on any of these other like things, so it's just like empty. You feel like you're going down this big like hospital almost to the back room.
So I'd walk all the way down there and then take that left at the back of the huge building, and then I go up these stairs and over and then up and zigzag up at the top, and then I like pop out.
It's literally the furthest away from like the
from the front desk, and so I get up there, and it's just like this huge room with like this divider, and they were gonna like let us use both sides. Ooh. Excuse me. They were gonna let us use both sides, but then I looked at that room and I was like, I don't even know if anyone's gonna come. Like we don't need both sides.
We were both kind of like, well, we didn't. So I'll back up for a second, because we were like planning and like there's so many things going on. We didn't even have like time to think about how to even promote stuff. So we kind of so at this point we hadn't even made Facebook event posts.
No,
we just or excuse me, like an event page. No. We made posts and that was it.
That was it.
Like,
and
no
then I was
ads,
like, I was really kind of relying on the people that were letting me do it to like help promote
share it to their community. Yeah.
And so, anyway, long story short.
So we set up. We were blowing up balloons. We're
setting up. It's raining. I'm looking out the window while I'm blowing up balloons and like setting up the room. And like Frankie is out at the park with the kids, like, and I'm like, oh my, what is this? Like, okay, and so they all wander back, put Frankie away, and come inside and finish setting up, and then
it was like half an hour early.
Half an hour before we start.
Our first
guest
showed up, and we were like, "Yay! Someone showed up! Like,
showed up.
One person, we're good." Like,
yes.
And this is what you and I talk about. This, even at every stop for this whole year, if there's one kid that shows up, it's worth it.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. Yep. So one kid shows up, and we were like, "Okay."
Sweet.
But they're 30 minutes early, and so I'm like, I don't know what to do in this room.
Right. Yeah.
For 30 minutes as I'm dressed as Brecky Breck. Well, like, what do I do prior to? So we're just like, I'm just talking with him. And
we hadn't even fully like come up with an event schedule yet either.
Like, we've done this.
We've done this story time before. Yeah. What I'm saying though is we haven't really like talked about it and like talked about like, all right, here's how we can help the kids.
We didn't have time. Yeah, no, we didn't even have time because we literally like that morning. Kylan, like, goes to Tim Hortons that morning again to get some more things done. Comes back right at the time. We drive straight to the event center. We are not talking, like, we're just, like, trying to get our kids settled while we're driving there. And then, like, we get there and like, there's no time. Like, we didn't meet at all.
Right.
So, yeah, it was nuts. So, yeah, I kind of, like, start to like, I read that little boy a book, and then, like, I'm like, okay. And then, like, another 20 minutes goes by, and another family shows up. And I was like, oh, cool. And then another 5 minutes goes by, and another family shows up. So then we're like, okay, so we had, like, 3 or 4 families there. And so then I, like, start again, but it was just kind of hard. You
started, like, right at the time, and then
because other family was waiting there for a long time already, and they had a baby that was already kind of getting fussy. So, like, you started,
but then we had more, like, 3 or 4 more families show up, like, over the next 15, 20 minutes. Over the next 15,
20 minutes, yeah. So then I was kind of, like, reading stories, and then making shakers, and then dancing, and then reading stories again, making more shakers, because it was, so we kind of just did this, like, back and forth.
Yeah.
And, so it was fine, but it was like, okay, that was tricky. And then at the, like, okay, like, and then, but what was so sweet about that was, like, when I kind of told everybody, like, hey, like, I have a YouTube channel, and we're going on tour, and this is our first stop. like the room started to like cheer, and they were like, one of the moms was like, let's get a picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, like they were like, what, like it was just such a special moment for like those families to get excited about like what we were doing, and they didn't know, like we didn't have any, we had one actual no, we didn't have any actual fans there. I think
one family were like looked it up
or
like it was a family friend or someone like that told them about
it. Yeah, no, it was they there was like one family that looked it up prior to coming.
All the other families there were just there for the story time.
For the story time, they didn't know anything else.
Which was awesome. Yeah, like it was super cool.
It was awesome.
But it's definitely a different type of interaction.
Absolutely.
It's like when they're there for the story time, they're not like, oh, it's Brecky Breck, my friend.
No,
it's like, oh, like okay.
Yeah, and the cool thing, like, it's fun to watch, like, kids, like, I am their friend by the end of it. Like, they absolutely loved the interaction.
But you can tell the kids that watch the show, they're coming up and giving you hugs.
They're, like, running right when they get in the room. They just light up and they're running toward me. And it's like, okay, that's how I know. I'm like, that's a fan. Because otherwise I'm like... And then sometimes I've had situations where it's like... The mom has let me know on social media, we're coming to the event. So then I'm like trying to pay attention to what that kid looks like so that I can like maybe recognize them.
So real quick. So maybe what would be helpful is let's just do like a quick recap of what's happened.
Yeah.
So that way as we just continue to talk, it's like we can reference it. So we'll just do a quick timeline.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the events as much as like, all right, so we did Victoria, we did a story time, and then we did a balance bike clinic, and then we went to Vancouver, British Columbia, and we did a balance bike clinic, and then we went to we went to Bellingham and did story time, and then we did a balance bike clinic the next day.
And that was a little bit of reprieve there, like
we'll talk about it. I just wanted to like say like so we had that was all 1 week, so all those, and then starting the second week we went to SeaTac. Or Tequila Library and did a story time. The next day we went to SeaTac, and then we drove down to Eugene and did a few different varieties of story times, and then we did the bike clinic, and then we drove up to Vancouver, Washington, and did the story time. And then those are all the events that we've done to date.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but in Eugene we did like just a lot of random little things.
So that was... What?
13 events total.
13 events total, yeah. So, and that was all from October 1 to
October 19th.
19th, yeah.
And then on the 20th, we filmed a dentist episode in Vancouver the morning that we left.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. So that kind of shows like all within that time frame, we had that kind of stop and go.
Yes.
We took some time in Eugene. We had a few extra days that we were there.
Yeah. And also in Bellingham, an extra day, which was great.
So.
With friends, so it honestly like that so adjusting with our kids in an RV, but also like moving along with the events was like it was incredibly fun, and it was fun to like have that to like get towards and do. But man, that was so stressful learning our RV because we hadn't really done a lot with it.
Oh my gosh.
And so like figuring out like just making sure that it was running properly, driving the cargo trailer attached to it, you know, like all the things that we're trying to like problem solve, we're having to problem solve and make sure that we arrive at events on time and host these things.
And problem solve events.
We barely. Like, there were 2 events that we almost missed.
So we're running these events. So we're doing these story times, and then we're doing these bike clinics. And then because all of our story times in the past have all been fans. So this is why I wanted to make that point.
Yes.
So typically they're all familiar with Brecky Breck.
Yeah.
So there is a certain comfortability that's different. Whereas there's a warm-up period with both parents and kids when they're not fans. Whereas when they are fans or already they understand the dynamics, sometimes it's a little bit easier or quicker to warm up. And so I think that's been something that we've been trying to navigate or problem solve is like that dynamic. And then the other side was the balance bike clinics. We haven't really ever had a like this is the structure for it.
Right.
Because it's always been slightly different, like dynamics. And it is, every time it has been too, on the road.
It's so cool because I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but what's nice is, like, I think this is exactly what we want it to be. We call this chapter 1. And I feel like through all of that, we've been able to just, like, understand, okay, generally these are some of the things that we can do. We've talked about, structure, how we can work together, and the biggest thing for me that I think for the Balance Bike clinics was like, all right, I think if you can introduce me as like one of the like coaches, Coach Kai is what we talked about, then I can help be like more like available to help facilitate. Whereas if everyone's just eyes on you the whole time, and then you go just like do a lap with one strider, and everyone else is kind of standing around waiting to like do whatever. So
right, which I did that a few times.
Yeah.
So no, it's been good. The amount of things that we've learned in such a short period of time, like within just our family dynamics, putting on events, like. Everything. It's like
it's crazy. There's so much.
It's
even hard to even think about how to podcast.
I know.
Like, there's so many things. Like we start to talk about one thing and it's
the
crazy
part of all this too for me was like, it rained at 4 or 5 of the Storytime events.
Yeah.
And then the weather like cleared by the next day to host the bike clinic.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it was supposed to pour down rain. Like there were so many times when you'd look at the weather app and it'd be like, it's raining. And
or we get drenched going from the RV to the library.
Yep.
Or into the school in Eugene. Yep. Like it was just
literally just pouring.
Yeah. And then the next day is our bike clinic. We're like at the library, we're going like, I don't know, we'll see, hopefully.
Hopefully it's clear.
And then it's like been perfect weather at every all time. Of them. Like sun out.
Every time.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. So that was like the most like, what the heck? I felt like God was like right there, like, you got this. So
So okay. So what's cool about this, and this is something that like you and I have been really intentional about this over the years, is just like paying attention to the season of life our family's in and figuring out how we can cater what we're doing and our experiences to kind of meet their needs. So it's been fun is like, I feel like the whole bike element of this.
Oh man.
It fits kind of with our channel and getting kids outside and on bikes. But there's like a big part of even why we got into biking is because that's what our family got into.
Yeah.
And so it's been cool to like go to these BMX tracks ahead of time and like watch the kids be able to ride and just kind of play and experience these different tracks. And then like we got our first like tour sponsor is Vela Solutions. So they came on and wrote us a check and said, we love what you're doing. We want to support what you're doing. And kind of no strings attached, which was really cool. Yeah. They were just like, hey, you continue to support, what we're doing as well. And we're like, man, we're going to hit as many pump tracks as possible. Yeah. We'll be hitting, or we'll be doing events at them. And so it's been cool because I told Breck even before working or reaching out to them and talking to them, it's like, I want to go to as many Velo tracks as possible anyway. So being able to like kind of justify that has been really fun. So
it's so cool. There's so many cool dynamics because of the age that our kids are too. It's like it's such a balance in communicating honestly with like what my goals and dreams are, or what our goals and dreams are as a family or as husband and wife, let alone like with them. And so to be able to have something that I feel as a mom I'm offering to them is specifically Miles, and like, hey, like, because of what we're doing, you get to come and be a part of this for you, right. These things that you love, like, right. I get to kind of like help bless you by, opening things to like, filming at the bike park was a perfect example. Yeah. There's been just so many, and it's just fun to be at the track. I think, setting up in Victoria at the bike clinic was fun because we got there early. The weather was clear that day, and we like opened the door to the RV, and like Frankie comes out, and we're like bringing out all the stuff, and the cat's just like laying. There's no one else at the track, and the cat's just like laying on the track, like sprawled out, rolling around.
The boys are riding. The girls found some like compost pile of flowers, and they're playing with the flowers. And
so it was just like such a unique, random experience to like, oh, this is so cool. Like,
and it was like a weekday. Yeah. It was like, yep, this is.
And it was a great turnout. Yeah. Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other side. I think what's fun is, I think you and I have talked about this and like how growing up at camp or as pastors' kids, there's been kind of this element of being able to watch our parents serve or being at these events and like being able to kind of like not feel like we have to lead stuff, but being able to like be a part of something.
Yeah, and help facilitate it.
It. And what's cool, I think, already, even with the tour, is like being our kids kind of finding their role a little bit. And what I think you and I have both been intentional about is like not forcing something on them. It's like, yeah, help if you want, but it's like, even like taking loads out, we'll ask them, but it's like, all right, if they say, hey, can I be done or something, it's like, yeah, you can take a break or whatever. And even so for the events itself, it's like, you don't need to be, in character, be like the person or whatever.
The first couple events, like we were having all of us were having such just emotional, personal attitude adjustments. Like so much was going on, like mentally, emotionally, physically. And so, I think we were just super flexible with the kids, and I think it took those first few events for them to like catch on to like, oh wow, to where it felt like even when we got to Vancouver after that event, we were like, what'd you guys think? And there were events where they're like, that was the best, like that was awesome, especially like there were just the Tequila one was just so cool, like for different reasons. And so, they're just, every event was just like so special and unique. And the kids were able to like see their value and see our value as a family in what they're doing. And then also like meet amazing people and make friends. And we had, we had met some kids at the Victoria one and they were like, oh, do you have kids messenger app or whatever? It was stuff like that where I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Like they're just... Yeah, there's just a lot of, it's just,
and again, really I think awesome. it's the full circle. It's not just those experiences on their own, but there's a challenge element that we get to kind of go through the hardship element of the morning or whatever, but then we get to have this full circle, and I think there's a beauty in not like putting on a pretend face through that as much as it's like, this is what we're committing to doing. And so it's like, for example, like the Tequila library, on our way there, I about blew up the engine in our RV. So I hadn't gotten the fluids all swapped out, and our engine was burning through oil because it's like super old oil, and it was on the lower side of things. And we'd just been going, and I'd been like neglecting it and trying to it's just something that I totally space. And then we came down this hill, and we all kind of immediately smelled this like smell, and I knew
it breaks or something's burning.
No, I knew immediately what it was. So I was like, I need to get this engine turned off immediately because there's no more oil in this engine.
Like come down this hill, go through the light, and there's like a industrial.
Anyway, so I pull over, turn the engine off, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus, that we weren't on the highway because our engine would have been toast.
Yeah.
Like, we would have not had an engine. But we're already like cutting it close with getting to the...
Yeah. We are literally 30 minutes out at this point. No, we were 45 minutes.
We had a little bit of cushion, but now it's like, crap, it's crunch time. And I don't even know if our RV is going to run all the way. So I'm like, there was a Fred Meyer kitty corner, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to Fred Meyer, I'm getting some oil to replace to just get some oil in our system, and we'll just diagnose it from there. So I go run the Fred Meyer, I get oil, a little drain pan, and then basically do an oil or I just add oil at this point, just enough to like turn the engine on, it runs, we're good. So we drive there, I drop Breck and the kids off and like swing around and find a parking spot.
So he drops us off and the event's supposed to start in 10 minutes. We're 10 minutes until the event's starting, and I'm just now arriving. So other people are already there. Like,
and I must say,
is there not an event going
up on? Until this point, we've had... Anyway, yeah, go ahead. I'll say this part later.
Yeah, so we get there, kids and I run out. I'm dressed as Brecky Breck holding this big tote, and like we're going in. Miles has Uncle Teddy, like we're going in. And I come into this library, never been here before, and I'm looking around, and the two ladies at the front desk are talking with like people at the counter, and so I'm kind of like waiting, like I need to figure out like where to set up. Like I think there's only like one room in that library, and then one of the dads, whose little boy is a fan. It's obvious because he's like he starts. He goes, "Hi, Brecky Breck." He's like, "Yeah, I think you're supposed to be in that room. I asked where you were," and I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." And I'm like, so I go in there and we just like set up. And it's like this big room in the middle of the library that has glass doors that just kind of shut around the room. Like, so it's open in the library.
And it's a small, quiet library.
It's small and quiet. And then you shut the glass doors and then you can, like, make noise after that. Like, it was kind of I don't know how this is going to go. And then once the doors were shut, though, like, it was actually really soundproof and it was amazing. And then all the families, there was, like, a little kids area. And so all those families that were there already were waiting. Once they saw that we were remotely set up, they came over, and then the kids kept setting up stuff while I'm like interacting with the little kids.
And I'm still parking the RV. So you did all that. I'm parking the RV. We just come off of Bellingham, which was a smaller turnout for both events, and then we didn't really promote this one that much either. And then this whole like oil thing happened. So I'm coming in. I don't even know what to expect. I open the door and I like you had already like gotten started. The kids were already set up. And I look over and it's just like a room full of people.
Yeah.
And you're just going. And I was like, what? This is awesome. Like,
yeah. And it was so cool too because there was a mom and grandma and some kids that drove 8 hours to come to this event because it was the closest one to them.
Yeah.
And I was, like, so honored. And I knew that they were going to be there, too. And so he came wearing his Brecky Breck shirt. And, oh, man, like, that whole event was just so special. Mainly because, like, number one, like, yeah, there were tons of people there. But number two, like, we barely made it. And then just to, like, our kids, like, could feel our stress. And they were, like, feeling
they jumped into action.
And they just turned it on. Like, they really just, like, everybody was literally, Briar was throwing tablecloths on, and Maverick was putting together the shaker eggs, like, and stacking them on the table, and Greta was dumping all the beads and all the things out, and it was like, and I didn't even have to tell them to do that. It was like, I was able to just visit with the kids, and I turned around, and like, here we are, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, kids. So, yeah, there were just so many, that was a really special event, so, cool. And then that following day we had, or was it the following?
It was the next day. For SeaTac?
Oh, actually, no. I think it was the day after, because we stayed at that campground for, like, an extended time. Didn't we stay there for, like, 3 nights?
It was the day
Thousand
after.
Trails.
Yeah, it was still the day after.
Oh, okay.
We had a day before.
Okay.
Yeah. So the day after, we went to do laundry, and I tried to take a meeting. That was a whole ordeal. And then we ended up being...
Yeah, that was a whole ordeal. That was my fault.
So that paired with... traffic, we ended up showing up to SeaTac kind of like last minute.
15 minutes to spare.
15 minutes to spare. So I swing up. There's not really a good close parking spot, so I'm like on the side of the road. Just we're throwing out the like bikes. I'm like, take this bike, go.
Oh, it felt so unprofessional. It sucked. I hated that. I hate that feeling when I'm like, I'm trying, like, as I've been like asking people for things, I'm like, this is professional, like, this is, like, I'm trying to sound professional so people will want to back it up, you know, and so, then when you don't have everything that you thought you would have, you know, when you have to start out with this, like, humble beginnings, it's, like, there are people that believe in us and they're pumped about it, but I think I have expectations, and so, it's, like, you know, that was one thing, we didn't have any signage or banners or anything for the whole first chapter.
Right.
So there wasn't a single, like, Brecky Breck sign. You printed out at the library for Vancouver, like, a piece of paper had, like, that was the most we had for anything.
So Tukwila, we had the biggest turnout at the library, and then the next day we get to SeaTac, and so SeaTac is unique because this is a little bit of overlap into our community we know already with people who've been BMXing. Yeah. So we know a lot of the people at that track. And so I like assumed it would be a bigger turnout, and then ended up being a really awesome. I mean, we probably had.
And we had a lot of kids.
35 kids. 30
and
kids.
we had a lot of kids that had never ridden or been to that track before.
So
which was really
what
fun.
was cool is it was just a really supportive group.
Yes.
So it was like a big enough group to where it was just like this is so fun. This is so awesome. We had parents that were like, can we buy a shirt? Can we buy the books? And we were like,
we don't know how to sell them.
Well, we could just, I just
gave a bunch away.
Yeah, so I was just you can just have them. Like,
we're like, we don't have cash. We don't have anything set up for that. So
anyway, that was the first event that I was like, well, it had been growing, but that was the first event where it was just like, it felt like we got momentum enough to have this like
and making event pages, because you had made event page for that. That was huge
with the library too. That's why.
Yes.
So we finally made Facebook event pages, which was there was kind of a destination for it beyond just our website.
So in retrospect, I wish we would have done that with Bellingham.
I think it was good.
With all of it.
I think it was good because we needed it to be slower for us to know how to start to grow. So like I think and that's what we said initially too, is like, if one kid shows up, it's not only good because we get to spend time with that one kid, but it's also, it allows us to like, okay, what do we want this to be? You know, in the moment. So I appreciate kind of the progression, because it got, so SeaTac was like a big turnout, and then we went to Eugene. Eugene's story time was like last minute thrown together. So the official story time, we had 3 kids?
First of all, and a huge thing is like when it's hosted at a library or a recreation center, like those ones.
People are already familiar with the space.
Yes, they've been to the library before. They know where to find it. They know what to expect.
So we hosted it at like an event venue.
Yeah.
That we had a connection with.
And the Lenny's Bike Shop one was super fun because those are our friends. Shout out to Lenny's Bike Shop. Love them.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a core memory, just because we hosted that one at their bike shop, which was super fun because it's like, again, it's just a different venue and it was a small space. But again, it makes a difference when it comes to like how people know about it or whatnot too. But
and just runway time, I think, like being able to promote it, and then having the Facebook page destination, like we're just learning too as we go.
Yeah, we are.
So anyway, we go to Eugene, we do the story time, which was, again, this was last minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, let alone it was at this, so it ended up being a smaller turnout,
we had
which
3
was great.
Kids.
It was awesome. I loved it. And then my mom works with the school district down there, so she got us connected with
safe routes
to
school.
Which was awesome. So we went, and like we had zero expectation. We had no idea what to expect going to this. They were Jack was running the program in the Springfield School District.
Yep.
And basically was like, "Hey, come help me run the program." We were like, "Okay."
So he teaches kids how to ride in a gymnasium during their PE class.
Barely even knew that.
It's like the All Bikes program, but they, instead of like All Bikes program has a fleet of bikes at every school, Jack takes a trailer full of bikes and goes to each school for 3 weeks at a time, and then.
So we show up. It's pouring down rain. We show up to check in. And then we forgot your ID or something, so we had to go back. And then we get in there, and it's like, we're just like, jump in there.
Well, and we came in because we came in late, so he had already got everybody's helmets and stuff. Great. Yeah. So I walk in, and then he's like, "Oh, and here's Brecky Breck," and I'm like, "Hi guys," and I said, "My name's Brecky Breck. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm here. Jack invited me to come and." Be a part of, you guys learning how to ride bikes, and it was
crazy.
Great.
So we did 2 classes that day, 2 classes the next day. There were a handful of kids that were familiar with who you were. Yeah. So we had, and the classes were like, I don't know, 30 kids?
25, 30
30 kids, all riding bikes.
Insane. It was crazy.
But it was awesome. So it was, kindergartners and first graders, and they're so sweet, and what was cool about it too was it definitely took me back to the one team days. So I used to run, like, my full-time job was running after school programs and camps for kids for that age group for elementary school, and so it was just like, oh man, I miss this.
I know. And Awana,
but
there's so many things. There's
so many things, but I'm like, I like, there's something about that, that environment too. So
the public school, it's just so cool to like come in and just be a part of that,
and that's what I was grateful.
Spice up their day too.
Yeah, and that's why I was grateful, like, to just be there. It was just fun. I felt like there was no it wasn't even our event, so it was just we got to just come and be extra support. We weren't filming it. There was no like literally. I think I took one picture the whole time, and then the rest of the time I legit was just like you were full time helping the kids, right? I was full time. It was just like awesome. I loved it.
Yeah,
it was just
that
like
was so cool.
Encouragement, riding,
and
getting them on the pedals.
Getting to see that Jack is out there, like people like Jack are out there teaching and I know that's the case for all these teachers. It's like you're out there just putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this, and Jack's like exhausted and he's doing it again and again and again, and with that many kids. And I'm just imagining him doing that even without us. The gym teacher. It's we like were busy a lot of work. Time. Yeah, we were busy the whole time.
And we were two extra adults helping, let alone.
Yeah, so I can't imagine, because even Jack trying to like, one kid really wants to try with pedals, so he's over there trying to like hold them up and like get them going. Meanwhile, you got tons of other kids that also want to try.
So you have 30 kids in one gym doing circles around on bikes and balance. So it was awesome. I love it. Yeah, that
was fun. So,
so we were talking about like, man, it'd be so fun to figure out and do that like on the road, just like do like guest visits if we can figure out ways to just like and even just I don't know, just go help, like, you know, it doesn't even need to be like a thing where it's like the YouTubers come in.
Oh yeah, we didn't, like I said, we didn't film anything. There was nothing. It's so funny too because there's a little boy there. This is like a Springfield, Oregon elementary school in the middle of Springfield, you know, and then this little boy, he's like a huge fan.
Well, what's funny is like you either Jack would say like YouTuber, and then there'd be a handful of kids like, oh yeah, I've seen your videos, and you kind of go like, okay, like you're like maybe, but the kids hear YouTuber, so they get all excited about it, and so this kid did it. When he walked in, I watched his face. He was
like he knew exactly who I was, and that was obvious, and so it was cute because. I was like, I was thinking about him going home and saying, Mom, Brecky Breck was at my school today. She'd be like,
no, she wasn't.
That's the most random thing to have happen in your gym class at 11 o'clock in the morning.
I saw his face and reaction, but there was still part of me that was like, do you actually know who she is?
Well, then he started talking
But then he started talking about the episodes, and then he's like, I said, my kids ride bikes, and he's like, I know, I've seen them, and they were teaching you how to balance. I was like, okay, like you're legit.
You know exactly
okay. And not just even saw it, it's like you are familiar with episodes, which is kind of fun.
Which is super cute.
Yeah.
But, I mean, gosh, this whole journey has been just so exciting. It's just so fun to, like, build momentum, to learn something new, and for every event to be incredibly different. Like, we just adapt, you know? Like, when I read a book at SeaTac for the first time at the bike clinic,
that was awesome.
I, like, sat down with the kids and read a book, mainly because I was just, like... This is so many kids feel so uncomfortable with this track right now. Like, they're scared of it, the whole thing. I was like, let's just sit down here and just read a book. So we just sat down, I read the book, and because we didn't have time, we were going to do a drawing, and we didn't have time to get everybody tickets because we were there late. And so I was like, Kylan, you take the parents over there and do the ticket thing while I, read a book to the kids. And that ended up being the best decision ever because by the time I'm done reading the book, like, I've built more relationship and rapport with them. They're answering questions about the book. And then when we can get up from the track and now go towards the track and, like, do it again, it was like they were that much more comfortable with, like, being together, with just slowing things down. It didn't have to be high energy, and they could, like, be calm and go over there and start again. And it was like, okay, you know, there's just random things that you just learn and feel out. And
then, so you did that on the side, and then in Eugene, you sat down at the finish line on the track and read the book. And I love that because it was like, it was almost that next step of, like, look, you don't have to be afraid of this track. Yeah. Look, we're going to sit down and read on the track. Yeah. Like, you don't want to do that all the time.
Oh, man. And all of the track operators at every single location. Oh, man. It's just so cool. I'm just like...
And we knew that. We so knew that. This is the part I've been looking forward to. BC, and it's just confirmed at each step. Yeah. It's like, they're just like Jack, too.
Yes.
It's like these people...
Their heart for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And for kids on bikes. Yep. It's just so evident. Yep. And it's just so cool. Because, like, every time that we do... It's like... all these track operators are just, like, pumped, you know, to, like, this is what they do. This is, like, this is why they are who they are.
And so it feels cool to bring this, like, have this turnout, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, at SeaTac, it was like, oh, we didn't realize we were going to get this many, like,
Well, and it's the end of the season, so it was like, are people even going to come? Because it was super rainy the day
Eugene
before.
was the same thing.
It
was just like, it was an awesome turnout, and it was just like, oh, this is so cool. It feels fun. And they had, one of the volunteer parents actually runs the Strider program, and she came out on her like adult Strider and was all like excited.
She's so awesome. Yeah, I know.
So
the cool thing too is we had invited Jack and the Safe Routes program to the BMX track. So we had the BMX track and the Safe Routes come together to work together to host the event, and that's why we had such a big turnout, is because we could mesh those two together. So
anyway, so that was chapter 1. What are we doing? Where are we at right now? What's going on?
Yeah, so we're in Port Angeles right now. We're actually staying at my beautiful best friend's from childhood Airbnb, and she is going to give birth hopefully tonight. I need to keep my phone on loud.
This is the house that we landed in when we first got off the road in Port Angeles.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic was going on and they weren't.
Airbnb was
so we were
closed.
Like, hey, we'll come test out that city. So.
Yep. So So it was funny. This was the first house that we were in, April 28th of 2020, and this is
kind of the last
house
stay that we're here in Port Angeles.
Yeah. Yep, so then after this we head to Tulsa on the 12th.
So Tulsa is the national championships for BMX. They call it Grand Nationals. So we'll be there. We've got some fun stuff planned.
Oh man.
Yeah, so we're and then from there we're like
far? Okay. 45 minutes.
Okay.
We're good.
From there, this one's just gonna be jumbled and kind of just like a shotgun blast. So
that's okay.
Sorry.
So much to talk about.
I know, it's just too much. So it's like we're just like.
Yeah, that was rabbit trails.
But we just need to get it out. Get it out and get caught up. That's how I feel about the vlogs. I'm like editing these vlogs. There's so much stuff.
I know.
Like I gotta get it out rather than just we traveled full time before in 2019, 2020, and I have all this like content that I never did anything with because I didn't get it out. So now it's just like hold on. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it now?
Right.
So anyway, we're going to Grand. It's Thanksgiving week, which is going to be interesting. It'll be fun to like be around that for.
I know, it's so interesting. BMX does Grand Nationals on Thanksgiving every year. I thought that was crazy because even Canadian Grand Nationals were on their Thanksgiving. Yeah, which is interesting to me.
I think the BMX community, like they make that their tradition.
Yes, that is. Yeah.
If it's not already your tradition, it's really hard to like make that your tradition, right?
Yeah.
So I think it'll be fun because there'll be a lot of people. I mean,
it'll be our new tradition.
Someone was telling us. Who was it? Was telling us we go to Sherry's or something.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure everybody has their like thing. So it'll be fun to just be around that and.
Well, and then this is going to be special because I went to school at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, and we met. We had like friends that we had connected with through church there, and they still live in Tulsa. So we're gonna go and like introduce our children to each other, and like because they have kids now.
We've got a lot of friends we need to
13 years. Yeah, so we're gonna like hopefully just host a big party and have all of our Tulsa family come and see us and be able to see everybody. That would be really fun. So.
Yep, and then we have 3 more stops. So we go to Tulsa and we jet back to the West Coast. To then start our actual tour. Yeah. So we'll go to Sacramento, Los Angeles area, San Diego, and then take a break for Christmas in the Arizona area, and then we'll go to Arizona and just start making our way to the East Coast. So
that's crazy. I'm so excited. That's so crazy. And even just this first month, I'm so glad we did it the way that we did because the tools that we've gained to now like actually set sail, first of all, we're the cargo trailer that we have is just way too small. It was incredible, but yeah, there's just some things that we were like, oh wow, like we've learned a lot. It's been nice. We've had a lot of things shipped to our friend's house to pick up here, and so but to actually think that we're going to set sail, head to Tulsa in like a week from now, and like
I got a bunch of work I need.
That's it for like 11 months. Essentially.
It'll be fun. I'm excited.
Crazy.
Be some fun adventures along the way.
Man, and let me just say, first of all, also being here and like settling down for a second, I've been able to like kind of restructure the RV a little bit to where, and our kids have just gotten way more comfortable. The mornings have been great. The last, like, number of mornings.
Yeah.
Which mornings
well, because we're not in a rush. We can just kind of like...
Yeah, breathe and space. Yeah.
I definitely think that our anxiety and stress is...
transferred.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely contagious.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that contributes, like especially when we were getting packed and stuff, like that was a big element to like what we were all experiencing. It was just like everybody was just on the, there was a couple days where you and I just were like arguing and we never really got a chance to like stop. It wasn't like arguing like we were mad at each other as much as it was just like we had to get in it.
And we were just both having to do our own things in our own zone and just get to the deadline.
And we both knew it
So
but then it was like there's this conflict and then the kids were like conflict, you know.
Yeah. So and like, they were totally neglected because I was just like fend for yourself while we try to so that was tough, but it's been good because even like today, you know, I woke up, made a yummy breakfast, we hung out, Kylan went to the office, and then the kids and I hung out. I made stew and bread, and we just, like, read books, and then you came back and had lunch, and then after that, he left again, and we walked to Tractor Supply, looked at all the toys, kids bought a sucker, walked to Goodwill, looked at books, they each got a book because there's like the free book club, walked back, they played in a pile of leaves and we giggled like so much, I don't even know why, we were laughing so hard about that. It was for like
walk to
5
Tractor
minutes.
Supply, check. Giggle in leaves, check.
It was just the most random, like, chill day, and I just, like, wore my sweats and sweatshirt all day and just, like, had my hands in my pocket and walked slow down the road with them, and it just felt, like, so good to just be, like, slow pace. So, came home, and the kids just played. I read a book on the couch, and then I fell asleep reading the book, and then they took a bath, or I don't even know, because I woke up in the bathroom, was, like, totally trashed. Kylan walks in there. He's like, "What happened?
What is going on?" Rex like,
I don't even know. I was asleep, but it was just a really good day. So it's just stuff like that where I'm excited. It's just every day's different.
Sweet,
so.
Right on. Well, I'm excited because what's that?
Nothing. I just know that you were like, okay, good, yes. No, I know.
I just like this is just gonna bleed on forever. So the nice thing. So we're gonna be doing our podcast weekly.
Okay.
Weekly, so that we don't get to a point like this where it's just like, I don't know. There's so much stuff.
So we're gonna be in the RV podcasting.
RV. Yep. I need to figure out audio to make it a lot easier. Right now, this is a kind of a big ordeal. So we got all the wires everywhere, and this is not gonna be as much fun in the RV. So, and then vlog weekly for the same reason. It's just like, man, we're capturing all this content. We're doing all these things. So if I can just like stay on top of it, then that's going to make it a lot easier actually, you know, as much as it feels like a lot, it'll actually be easier. So, so I'm excited. And we've got, Patreon. We're going to be doing Patreon check-ins. At a certain point, we'll do some like live Q&As.
Oh, okay. Patreon, let me just say something real quick. For those that are Patreon members right now watching this, like, I cannot thank you enough. Like, honestly, like, to see people, you know, to get that notification from Kylan, you know, of like, hey, we just had a new Patreon sign up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, my heart, like... is so grateful when I read those names of the people that like see what we're doing and believe in it. You know, it's just like, it's just really special to me. I think for you and I both, we've just never been good at asking for help. And so, or asking for support in any way. We're always like, oh, we can do it. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. You know, and getting to that point where it started with me asking the hosts. You know, we've asked for $250 sponsors at each event that we've put on just for the gas to get there. And that was hard for me at first, you know, like, can I have $250? And the track operator's like, oh yeah, like, that's easy. And the some of the library stuff, it's like, yeah, like, that's not a problem. And I'm like, oh, like, so asking for help is like, okay, like, when you see the value in it and you feel that value reciprocated from people, it's just like, changes everything. And it's just like that. Those are the people that I feel like, okay, I can lean on this. So anyway, now I'm looking at the Patreon and the list of all the things that are within the tiers, and I'm like, we have a lot of things that we need to do. I still haven't made the shout out videos for each of them and all that stuff. I'll get to it, but anyway. So if you're watching this and you're a Patreon member, like, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah,
like,
thank you. Yeah. And I think it's actually making a difference too.
Oh my gosh!
That's the crazy
even
thing.
The $5 and the $10, like, it just makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing I want to communicate is like that the Patreon support. We're not just doing that to make extra money. That literally is going into helping make this happen. And I think, I have a dream to someday with the channel be able to like afford to give back to the tracks and the places. So I definitely feel that because I'm the same way. I don't want to take away.
No,
I want to come bless you. Right. Yeah. But we're definitely at a place now where it's like, all right, our channel doesn't make enough to support some of the things that we want to do at this point. It will, and we can grow to that. And I think there's things that we can do to grow to that. We have to stay
diligent.
Yep. But I think, the Patreon is a great way for, I think people to be able to come and support what we're doing.
And even like, I mean, just like the authors of the books that we have, like I want to support them. Meanwhile, they're giving me the books, and I've been giving them away at some of the events, not all of them, but some of the events, doing giveaways with the books. And I haven't paid for those books yet, but I don't want to just like take all the authors' books. So there's another way that like Patreon is helping me like bless these authors and pay them for their books and like thank them for like their partnership because I believe in what they're doing too. And so it just gets there's a lot that goes on into all of this, and it's like you said, it's like I would love to like bring a gift basket or like just do something for these track operators or these moms that are helping me plan and host and even like our friends Lenny's Bike Shop and stuff, like the amount of like support and love and effort that people have been pouring into us, it's like, man, like it just feels like I just want to give back. And so anyway, the Patreon helps us
or even
do that,
be able to like pass it on.
Yeah.
Not that we need to give back as much as I want to be able to pass it on. Right. And I think we are doing that through what we're like the tour, what we're offering, but it's like I know for both of us, it's like it's never gonna be enough.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like.
I got a message today from a parent that was at the Tequila Library. And she said, hey, we hadn't heard about Brecky Breck prior to the library. We just heard about the story time. She said, but my daughter has become your biggest fan since then. And she's like, I can't thank you enough for the joy that you've brought into my home through your videos. And I was just like again, like, thank you. And again, it was like not a person that had heard about this. And so meeting these people and just feeling like, okay, like, I had that reality today of like, okay, like this is making a difference. Like we are spreading joy and bringing love to people and connecting. Like even the safe routes and the BMX track. It's like, that's my heart. Like at the end of the day, like I just want to continue to just like pass on the blessing that people have been to us, like pass that on to others. And I never want to climb a ladder and like shove people off. It's like, come on, let's go up this ladder together. Let's make each other's lives better. And it just feels like, that has been the heart of everybody that gets behind us. You can feel that. So anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah. Right. Sorry, I just derailed you from that, but I had to say that quick bit.
No, that's what I was going with that.
Okay.
So you're just on top of that. So
okay.
I know I was just gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
And then we kind of got that one out of the way. So
yes.
I feel like the next one we can actually like.
Yeah, we have a lot of things to talk about. I want to talk about like our partners, new partners. We'll talk about that next.
Some exciting news for sure. That's super exciting. I want to talk about there's some like bigger conversational stuff talking about like even in the content creator space for kids. This dilemma of like thespians and performers versus people that are in it for like making an impact. So there's a lot of things that I think I want to talk about. And I'm excited to continue the conversation. So
cool. All right. Thank you guys.
Sweet. Thanks again. Catch you on the flippity flop. I wish I had a basketball to throw it over my head.